Diversity, Biases, and Special Populations by Shayla Reese for BHS 330. LGBTQIA plus discrimination. Next Benedict. So Next Benedict was a 16-year-old transgender non-binary student who attended Owasso High School in Owasso, Oklahoma. He and a friend were bullied because of their clothing style, and he ended up throwing water on the bullies in retaliation. He was later attacked by the bullies in the girls' bathroom on February 7th, 2024, which caused a death by suicide concluding on February 8th, 2024. Sadly, this discriminatory situation just happened 3 months ago. This is a prime example of the discrimination that members of the LGBTQIA experience daily across the United States and the world. Despite the many protests and the information given frequently about human rights issues such as these, some react out of fear or simply just repeat what they learned from home or the society in which they live. The unfortunate truth is that out of this discrimination, someone ended up losing their life. This is an act that cannot be undone for that individual. Those who bullied Next will have to work through the trauma of this happening and of what they said and did to Next. In this case, Next was actually proud of who he was and just couldn't sustain the bullying anymore, which was believed to be something that frequented this school without much retribution. The series of bullying events at the school ultimately led to suicide. So the long-term outcome of this issue, the incident led to death by suicide for Next. On February 26th, the students led a school walkout. This was in a protest to the frequent bullying that kept happening at the school. By March 23rd, the Department of Education opened an investigation about this, which was a response to a complaint filed by the Human Rights Campaign. The campaign had complained, and this was related to a school failure of ending harassment. The school district did not take responsibility and kept claiming their innocence. So the long-term effect in this case was a person in this world is now gone due to harassment received by others in the school. This case was also fueled by a school system potentially failing to respond to harassment and bullying cases or not taking them seriously before this incident happened. The walkout was an act to get the school to understand they were tired of seeing the bullying happen and received no resolve to the issue. This was about the lack of protection at the school for offenses of harassment and bullying. The long-term outcome for this situation is that the school may never hold themselves or the students accountable for what happened. It might be another issue that gets swept under the rug until something unfortunate happens again. However, for the friends and family of Next, there will always be time to grieve the loss of his life. Deaf-blind discrimination. Carl Richardson. Carl Richardson is a deaf-blind person. Carl's resume skills landed him interviews. After the interviews, Carl was questioned on his disability. The interviewers questioned him on his ability to be able to get to the workplace, which is considered workplace discrimination based off of a disability. So unfortunately, workplace discrimination against those with disabilities still happens today. If the person appears good on paper and even has the skills required for the job, there are those employers who will do their best to avoid hiring those with disabilities so they don't have to provide any of these accommodations. In actuality, they're more than likely missing out on a great employee who would do really well at the task at hand. But unfortunately, this is still said to happen without workplaces who consider themselves to be equal opportunity employers. By Ruhalter, 2022. Although there are laws and efforts to protect employees such as Carl, many companies are going to do their best to comb through these candidates. They're going to screen for anyone with disabilities in order to find a way to not hire them. This causes both the company and the candidate to miss out on a great opportunity and a potential partnership for the future. The long-term outcome for this situation. So 66% of the 62,000 workplace discrimination charges during the pandemic were disability related. Again, by Ruhalter, 2022. Carl was able to find employment, so that was a good side of this. He's a subcommittee member of the Disability Employment Subcommittee of the Commission on the Status of Persons with Disabilities. So he discusses initiatives to help other persons with disabilities find employment. Sadly, more than half of workplace discrimination charges that are filed to the U.S. Equal Opportunity Commission are due to those who had disabilities getting rejected or fired from jobs. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 was created to prohibit this type of workplace discrimination, although there's still many cases of this happening in the U.S. Representative Matthew Murtaugh suggested that perhaps using a financial incentive to get companies to comply rather than discriminate against those with disabilities might help them change their mind. Ruhalter, 2022. Sadly, these companies should not have to be incentivized to be equal opportunity employers as they claim to be. Carl Richardson hasn't been the only person with a disability to go through discrimination, but he was at least able to turn his story around by being a part of an organization that will help to end discrimination for those in the future. Prejudice in behavioral health when it comes to LGBTQIA+. So this community has a lack of trust. They need strong, trusting relationships with counselors. They prefer counselors who are part of this community or at least allies. But it's kind of rare to find out LGBTQIA+ counselors or those with specialized training. So many LGBTQIA+ members go through many mental health issues, especially during their stages of acceptance. Hayes and Erford, 2022, page 68. At such a stressful time in their lives, at this point, they need help more than ever. There are many who do not have the support and get discarded due to being different than what is expected for them to be. Although they need help and support at this time, many are afraid to ask for help. So what are some ways that we could potentially help fix the situation? Having more positive support at schools, such as trained counselors, having more available counselors in the LGBTQIA+ community, more available counselors specialized in the community, more free or low-cost counselors for youth, more available resources in the community, or offering outreach to this community. So schools really, really need to have a more safe space for people that are going through this. Having a well-trained counselor in this area to counsel youth can be highly beneficial and create a sense of safety for those students during the time. Many youth cannot afford to go to therapy, so if they're not sharing this information with their parents due to rejection, they don't have anyone to talk to about it. So offering free therapy, resources, or doing outreach to find them where they are is going to be key to helping this demographic. Prejudice in behavioral health with deafblind. So some of the issues are a lack of counselors with specific training, lack of counselors with experience in this training, lack of counselors willing to advocate, and lack of accommodations. What are some ways that we could potentially help fix the situation? Offering specific training in deafblindness, offering training for workplace discrimination, offering advocacy resources or training, and offering accommodations. So when it comes to those with disabilities, which is one of our country's largest marginalized groups by Hayes and Erford 2022, much more training is needed to have either a counselor with experience on the training to understand what someone with this disability is going through on their daily lives. So having a counselor who is willing to advocate for this client, especially when it comes to workplace discrimination, could go a long way to offer support to them. Not only could dealing with daily activities cause stress for these clients, but so can the daily struggle of finding and keeping employment when they want to be able to take care of themselves, just like any other able-bodied person. Finding a system to accommodate those who may not have help getting to and from therapy, finding a way for them to get there or accommodate them by offering virtual or phone appointments if needed could make the client feel more comfortable. Discrimination issues and behavioral health training. So the stories that I mentioned today, they should impact future training. Discrimination will continue in the future. We know this. All counselors need to be aware of discrimination. All counselors need to be trained to support those being discriminated against, and using advocacy should really be the goal here. So hearing the latest news of how discrimination occurs daily for those in this community and those who have disabilities should prove how discrimination training should be given frequently. According to O'Shea et al., it is imperative that counselors are well-trained and knowledgeable about disability. Counselors need to be aware that discrimination is always continuing depending on the given situation. Even if it's against the law, there's going to be those individuals who are not going to abide by that. Learning how to effectively advocate for those who are discriminated against and knowing what resources are available to them outside of therapy can truly help clients feel seen and heard. Good advocacy can also be the hope to help change how companies and others treat people with disabilities, given the knowledge that someone in their corner and they will not be alone in their fight against discrimination. Thank you.